Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, out on another walk, and this is my second video on the targets of the New Forest. To explain more, I'm joined once again by Dave Ford. Hello, Dave.
Hello everyone.
Now, if you didn't see the first one, I would suggest you go and do that because it sets it up. But Dave, just for the sake of argument, what part of the New Forest are we on?
A place called Ashley Walk, Richard, which is on the northwest corner of the New Forest in Hampshire.
And in our previous video, we went to what was called the ship target, which was emulating a ship, which during the Second World War was a target for practice.
Yeah, the Ashley Walk we're looking at, the area was a bombing range during the 5 or 6 years of the Second World War. And basically what we're doing on the walk is having a look at various little bits of evidence and some of the history that's still here. So we've seen the first ship target, and we've got a few more to look at shortly.
So what are we looking at this time?
We're on our way to the location of the wall targets. There were 3 of these, massive, great big things. They were, from memory, 40 foot long. Wow. 40 foot high. Yes. And 18 foot thick. I say 18 foot thick. They're effectively 2 walls side by side.
Oh, I see.
Walls.
So what were they simulating?
Those were used purely to help with the testing of bouncing bombs.
Barnes Wallis's bouncing bomb.
Indeed, yeah. There were different types. So the bombs that were used didn't have any explosives. They were more interested in making sure that technology was right, that they would hit the wall. Yes, and in fact on YouTube there is old MOD footage, or RF footage, I guess. If you go into YouTube and just type in Ashley Walk bombing range, you'll see some fascinating old footage, because all of these trials were recorded on cine film for the MOD. And effectively what they would do is the planes would come in, they would drop these bombs about 800 yards away from the target, and hopefully the bomb would bounce along and hit the target. But if you look at that YouTube video, they didn't always manage to do that. Didn't always, and also there were bods remarkably close. When you think, golly, if they'd just got that slightly wrong, those poor people could have been knocked out quite easily. That's right, yeah. And the pilots themselves had to be very skilled, because they would drop these bombs and then have to sort of shoot up and get altitude as quickly as possible, because there was always a danger the bomb would bounce off the ground and bounce back into the plane. Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. So, yeah. But yeah, it's I say when we get up to it, the walls themselves were taken down pretty much straight after the war, but the concrete base was still there until as recently as 1991. Oh right. And then that was broken up and used to make roads or whatever. But we will be able to see the outline of where certainly the #1 wall was. Yes. Because the alkaline nature of the concrete, the vegetation refuses to grow back, so it's just grass. Right. So which is perfect for history seekers looking for little bits of evidence. I should just say that we're it's quite busy. It's a bank holiday weekend as we film, and we're on Snake Road, which leads up from a car park. So of course there's lots of people. We've just gone through this rather pretty grove of holly trees, which is lovely. In fact, the park authorities recently cut back a lot of this area last year, predominantly to try and make sure there was a good fire break. Yes. This area to the right had just become full of gorse, really. After the summer we've had, that was a very sensible move. But yeah, it's funny how you see all these folk going out for the walk, and they would have no idea what was going on here 75 years ago. Absolutely, it's all, and unless you know where to look, you're going to miss it. Well, I think it's lovely that all of this is gradually going back to nature, which is how it should be. Yes. The MOD just borrowed it for 6 years, and it's nice to think it's. But what they've done hasn't destroyed it, which is good to see, or at least not nowadays. Yeah. So we'll press on, and we'll see what we see shortly. Yep.
Now, before we've got to our main wall target, Dave, I gather that there's an interesting anomaly that you're taking me to see.
Well, I thought as you pass by, you might be scratching your head, thinking, what on earth is this mound of chalk doing out in the middle of the New Forest? Because chalk is an alien substance. It's all sort of heathland around here.
Oh yes.
I mean, I've been walking around here for about 15 years now, and it was a lot higher, so it's gradually weathering away. Why is it here? Well, a lot of the directional arrows and what have you that we're going to look at later on would have been marked out in chalk. And also we're going to see something called the line target, which was effectively two parallel lines of chalk in a straight line that basically mimicked a railway line.
So,
something for them to
so this is for the pilots, or the navigators, I should say.
We will be seeing a couple of good examples of the old directional finders, because out here there's nothing really for the pilots to look at. There's no churches with steeples, or no factories, or there's no rivers to get their bearings, so they needed these arrows and crosses on the land. So that's why this is here, and it's been here for, let's say, 70-75 years. I suppose it'll gradually get worn away.
Yes.
But I say, people will pass it and they'll look at the chalk and probably think nothing of it.
And that's right.
That's why it's here.
Well, if anybody watching this does think that, let me just come back so we can see you in perspective of this little marker of chalk. Then they may be able to tell their friends exactly what it is. Fantastic. Right, well,
now we're going to just move slightly over to this area over here, where hopefully we'll be able to see the outline of where the #1 wall target was. As you can see, we've got some heather, what have you, and hopefully if we keep walking, yes, we can see just ahead there's an area where it just goes green.
Oh yes, the heather suddenly ceases so just ahead of us.
Don't trip up on the
yes, we're sort of crossing. It's very beautiful. There's a lot of interesting wild flowers amongst there. Well, not a huge variety, but prominently heather, and I'm not quite sure what it's gorse, I think. That's flowering gorse, the yellow.
Hopefully we won't see any adders or grass snakes.
Oh, I think they'll avoid us. Yeah. So here we are, look, we can see this green patch again. Sort of nobody would think twice, would they? No.
So, as I said earlier, use your imagination. You can still see perhaps the sort of gravelly foundation.
Oh yeah.
Quite a
so that yellow is gravel, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a massive thing. So this would have been the site of the #1 target. The #2 wall target would have been about 1,000 yards further in that direction.
Right, we can probably just about see cows in the background.
And then about 600 yards on from that would have been the #3 target. And as I say, if folk look on YouTube, they'll be actually see some good examples of what they were used for.
So would the planes have been targeting all three in one run, or just one specific wall?
In fact, when you look at the video, you'll see a plane come in and it'll bypass the #1 target.
Oh, I see.
Aiming for the #3 target.
Right.
So everything was videoed by cine camera, because obviously they'd take it home and analyse it and see what because the bombs themselves wouldn't have had any explosives, but they would have been full of concrete, the same weight as
to get the weight up,
and a lot of it's the technology involved in the casing and what have you. So that's why there aren't too many craters along this little bit of area, because there were no explosives. But when we start heading out in this direction, we'll start to see some crater activity.
Oh, and I think that's is that what we're going to look at next?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's not much to see here, but it's just a little bit of history of what was here.
Well, Dave, that's all we've got time for in our second video, but that's been really interesting. Gives you a different perspective when you come walking down on the New Forest, or anywhere. You never quite know what is just below the surface. Where are you taking me in the next video?
We're going to head out in that direction across this heathland. On the face of it, it doesn't look as though there's a lot there, but there is a lot to look at.
A lot to look at. Yeah. Okay, so that's where we're going next. Join us in that video, but for now, thanks for watching and see you again. Bye bye.